Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I urge my colleagues to oppose the underlying bills, and I urge my colleagues to support the two amendments that we are offering. Let me just make a couple of comments about the underlying bills. It seems to me we're always being presented in this committee with a false choice. We can either have economic stability and economic growth, or we can have unions. That is a false choice, a choice that is certainly belied by our history. But let me share with you a couple of statistics that I've shared before, but I think they have great relevance. Corporate profits as a percentage of the economy are at an all-time high right now. We've been measuring this statistic since World War II. Never have corporate profits had a higher share of the economy than they have right now. And conversely, total payroll compensation, again, we've been measuring since World War II, has never been lower. So corporations are doing just fine, workers are struggling, and we are at the lowest percentage of union representation in the private workforce that we've ever had. We're under 7%. Now, is it possible, remotely possible, that those two statistics are related, and that one of the reasons that workers are struggling as much as they are is that we have made it as difficult as we are making it and continuing to try to make it even more difficult to unionize? I think it is. I think that's the case. Median compensation in this country from 2000 to 2012 is down 7%. Median compensation. Median compensation from 1962 to 1974, a period of time that coincided with fairly high unionization, increased 37%. These statistics are related, and we are denying economic fact every time we try to make joining a union more difficult, as we seem to do every time we discuss this subject in this committee. With respect to the minimum wage, I would urge my colleagues to support an increase in the minimum wage. 70% of the American people support this. What do they know that we don't? Why is it that 70% of the people we represent think that this is the fair and right thing to do, and yet the leadership of this House refuses to even allow a vote on it? And let me just share this. The Economic Policy Institute has said that if we increase the minimum wage, we'll save $4.7 billion a year on SNAP, on food stamps. Now, while we're here today debating these measures on the floor of the House, we're debating the Republican budget resolution, which cuts SNAP by $125 billion over the next 10 years. There's only one way to do that, and that under current law, and that is to inflict enormous pain and enormous suffering on current SNAP recipients. Wouldn't it be better to save money on SNAP by raising people up and paying them more so they're not dependent on social safety net programs? Wouldn't that be a much better way to save $50 billion over 10 years by paying them more? It certainly seems to be a no-brainer to me. Why aren't we considering things like this? This committee used to be called Education and Labor. It's now called Education and the Workforce. I sometimes think it should be called Education and Management. We need to be representing workers, families that are struggling. The minimum wage does that, and giving people greater access to the ability to collectively bargain and to organize does that. So I hope we defeat the underlying bills. I hope we support the two amendments. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.